All right, folks, we're going to do the rear differential today on this 2006 Mazda RX8. It has about 21,000 miles. I did an oil change, bled the brakes, inspected the brakes. Later on, I'm actually going to put some high performance brakes on. These are stock rotors. They do fine. I have some hawk pads. They've had a couple of seasons of track days. It looks like they're getting a little bit blue, meaning they've been overheated. Not tremendously blue. They still work great. I've never had any fade on them. I use the racing brake fluid by Motul called 660, which has a very high boiling point. So now I have the fluids to do the rear diff. I guess I've always had the fluids. But as I said before, this is a gorgeous car. 21,000 miles. It is in seriously good shape. No rust to speak of. It's a 3 seasons car. Doesn't see salt, doesn't see snow. Oh man, it is a nice car, but I digress. So the rear diff is GL-5. So this is what I'm using. And you notice it says GL-5. Limited slip, that's what it has. The thing has a limited slip. And the rear diff drain plug and fill plug. As always, I have the specs. It's about 29 foot-pounds to 40. So it doesn't really matter. I have the required rings for the gaskets. That's all good. So we're good. And let's see. It says, I think it takes... Here's the rear differential oil. It's estimated it takes 1.4 US quarts. It's a little hard to see, but that's 1.4. That's all good. So we're off to do it. Now, I've already loosened the drain and fill plugs. And like all good people, I have not drained anything until I've proven that the fill plug can in fact be open. Now this is not your typical Midwest car, so you're not sitting there looking at a bunch of rust or corrosion. And I changed this a couple of years ago, and it's probably had about 200 miles of track use. So fill plug, drain plug. I think this is a 23, this is a 24, and you can see it's loose. And let's see if I can slip my hand around here. Had it running, and this is loose. So I'm going to drain it out. It obviously goes into the Pyrex. It's just easier to measure out 1.4 quarts than it is to discover. Like I keep saying on the Audi has a very bizarre center diff fill process. It drains out more than you initially put in. You have to wait 5 or 10 minutes to let the rest of it fill out. I think that's a very unique Audi German thing, but I love draining the fluid out in the Pyrex, making sure that it's approximately what I expect it to be. So I am going to loosen this. Yeah, loosen it, baby. Come on. All right. And let's see, we'll put this over here. There's the gasket ring. Oh man. There's the ring. Place it on top of the fill plug. Now, I may get a little weird draining this. I always want to get this drained accurately. So if I suddenly abandon the video, which I may for a second, I'm going to abandon it now. I will be back, but I've really got to catch the fluid. I want to see what it looks like, how much there is. It's just easier to do than realizing I made a mistake. So I'll be back. As you notice, this rear diff fluid looks perfect, but my philosophy always is better to change it early than to change it late. And it's always been my philosophy. The cost of a new rear diff, I assume it's thousands. And then getting it installed and all the work and the alignment, it's just, You know, you spend some money for diff fluid, you protect the diff, all looks good. That's what really matters, is protect the original piece of factory equipment. Don't get cheap. My God, cars are so expensive. And as I always tell my son, who rarely listens to me, but that's just, you know, you're allowed to ignore people, that's cool, is that when you get a new rear diff, you know what you get? You get new fluid. So why not just put in new fluid to protect the diff you got, as opposed to being cheap, being a cheap butt, or ASS, you know what that means. It's just easier. And it gives me the confidence, because this thing will probably get run a couple hundred miles this year on short technical tracks. And I don't want to be driving this thing at 8,500 RPM, accelerating. Now, these aren't really hard. These are 20-minute track days, so it's not a big deal. And then suddenly discover that I'm thinking about, oh, has my diff got good fluid in it? Nah, it's not worth it. So we'll go and check. I will check to make sure I've got the right gaskets, washers, whatever you call them. But it looks like we've got the right amount of fluid. And let's see. We'll check this out here. We're at roughly 40 ounces. Now, do I have metric? No, I got cups on the other side. So it's about 28 cc's per ounce. So I always go the easy way. I've got 40, I hit it by 30, that's 1,200. So we know we're in the 1.4 liter range. Oh God, liters and quarts, whatever, I don't know. I know they're pretty close. I think a liter is 9/10 of a quart, I'm not sure. But once again, fluid looks good. God, I hate this stuff. See how nice and clear it is? No evidence of abnormal wearing in the diff. So I'm happy. I'm going to fill it up. I'm going to let it drain. It's obviously cool. I don't like draining hot fluids. I've never understood why people drain hot fluids. Doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, good. I get to burn myself. Oh, that is so great. I get to work around a hot exhaust pipe. I am so lucky. I'm not a mechanic. I don't run a shop. I'm not in a hurry. So I just let this thing drain and drain and drain. And we're going to estimate about 1.4 quarts to go into it. Life will be good. I'll put some new crush washers on it, torque it down to the specs I showed you previously, and we're done. Car's ready for another year of track days. Bye.